Hit the record, kill the lights. This is it, the night of nights. And oh, what heights we'll hit. So on with the COVID cast. This is it. Yeah, and we're back. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us on this Monday evening, April 20th, 2020. So that's 04202020. Does that mean anything? I don't know. Maybe. We're going to find out, because that's what we do on this show. We get to the bottom of a lot of this bullshit that's going on. And there has been a lot. There has been a lot over the last few days. But first, I will remind you, this is COVID Cast 43. Man, when I started doing this, I sure did not think I would be doing a COVID 43. I thought, man, how can I get through these 2 weeks? 2 weeks to flatten the curve, remember? Remember, that's what it was going to be. 2 weeks just until the curve is flattened. And then once the curve is flattened, everything will go back to normal. Just going to pause the economy for a while. We've got your back, right? Well, that's 5 weeks, 6 weeks ago. God, what is it? Yeah, 6 weeks ago, I guess, 5 weeks ago. And we're still going, right? And we got another couple weeks, and then another couple weeks after that. Shit is going to get crazy. Trust me, man, it's going to get crazy. You're going to find out tonight just how crazy it is starting to get. But first, sorry, I tripped over my lines. I try never to do that. Hey, but first, some shout outs. Shout out to our sponsor, Athletic Alliance, for providing me with this tasty, I don't have the jar here, this tasty pre-workout Havoc 137 strawberry lemonade. It is loaded. It is a loaded pre-workout. And I drink it even before I work out. It's got alpha GPC, it's got citrulline malate, it's got caffeine in it, it's got beta-alanine in it, it's got huperzine, oh man, creatine, a lot of good stuff. And it tastes fantastic. Also, they are the makers of Hydro Pro and the Advanced Nootropic, all of which are available across North America in the GNCs, many of which are still open. Probably about half of them are still open. And in select Popeyes, online at SVN Canada, and very soon, I am told, on Amazon.com. Get it, Amazon.com. Yes. We will get a small little piece of the pie for that. Jeff Bezos will make millions and millions and millions of dollars. He makes money off every little product. And think about it, there's thousands going in there. So Bezos, hey, fine, you win, man. We'll play it your way. Shout outs to Jackson and the Glitch Doctor. The Glitch Doctor, Kane, has made this snazzy intro, COVID Chronicles. Terry, Gymnasium, Julia, superfans Dwayne and Charlene. The electric couple, we call them. The electric slide. We don't want to see the electric slide. You guys keep that to yourself, okay? Let's keep this G-rated. Is it G-rated? I swear. So maybe it's not G-rated. It's 14 and above. Let's say that. Shout out to the people of Davidton. Shout out to Dave, producer Dave and Fluffy Odell. Super friend of the show, Lisa, who I let in for free workouts so many years ago. You're welcome, Lisa. I know you never properly thanked me, but hey, I know in your heart you were thanking me, right? Big shout out to DeBanks TV. If you ever want to see what kind of wacky hijinks my little critters, my little kids get up to, on YouTube, you can search DeBanks TV and you will see them kicking ass, throwing footballs, doing judo, and cooking, quarantine cooking they're doing now. So a lot of fun and lighthearted stuff over there. Gets you away from some of the dark, disturbing material that I cover here, right? Shout outs to all of them. Did I forget anybody? In the audience, we have my faithful assistant, Ivan. Put her there, Ivan, from Sector B49. I'm from Sector B48. And that is it. So let's get into our updates first, right? COVID updates. What is happening? What is happening with this virus that has shaken up the whole world? Like what are those things called? Remember, you used to get them at Christmas. It'd be like a little ball, like a little glass sort of ball, and inside it'd be a house and all this stuff, and like a little Christmas scene, and you shake it up and then it snows. That's kind of what's happened to our world, right? Damn, I wish I knew what those things were called. Do you know what they're called? Snow globes. There you go. See, Ivan is quick, man. He's on these things. All right, snow globes. Yeah, the whole world is like a giant snow globe. It's all been shaken up, and now we're all sifting back down into place. By the way, I got my CERB check today. So, hey, drinks on me. I got my $2,000. I'm in the money, man. I got $2,000. All I had to do is give up my business. That was it. All I had to do is give up a thriving, successful business, and I get $2,000 a month. Time to party, right? I would like to take everyone out for a steak, but there is no restaurants open, so that's kind of tough. All right, let's look at our COVID cases. We got just under 2.5 million in the world. 170,000 people have died. 5,000 have died in the last 24 hours. The U.S. has 750,000, 42,000 total deaths. This number is really slowing down. And just by the way of facts for you, 2 years ago, the flu season killed between 60 and 80,000 people in the United States. The flu, the 2017-2018 flu season killed between 60 and 80,000 people. That's quite a bit, right? And yeah, I mean, nothing was shut down, right? Nothing was closed as a result. So that's kind of interesting to know. Spain, only 400 cases. Italy, 454 deaths. Sorry, 400 for Spain, 454 for Italy. France, let's sort these by the higher number. France is now number 2. Even the UK is actually dropping quite a bit now. Yeah, Spain, Brazil's a big country, so I mean, that's not terrible numbers. Canada, we'll go deeper into Canada. Russia's getting a little bit of a spike, but off of a fairly small base. Sweden, Sweden's been wide open, right? All they've really done is social distancing. There have been no forced closures, as there have in other places, but they seem to be doing okay. Let's take a little bit of a closer look at the U.S. Where are the problem spots? Where are the problem spots? New York still is kind of the epicenter. Things have fallen off there. New York has a handle on it. I've heard the governor, Mario Cuomo, come out and say that he's ready to start assisting other places like Massachusetts. Although Massachusetts is way down here. I don't even see where they are. Yeah, no 1,700 total deaths. Oh, maybe they just haven't. Yeah, they've got quite a few cases, 38,000. Massachusetts is about equivalent to all of Canada. So yeah, things don't look so bad on the coronavirus front. I mean, and remember, all of these people the vast majority of them are very old. And by very old, like most of the deaths have been people 80 plus and with underlying health conditions. So, okay, 42,000 have died. I don't know what percentage of them were going to die anyways or were close to death, but we have to assume that that's part of that number as well, right? As callous as that may sound. So here's some interesting numbers I decided to pull just to give people a bit of a sense of perspective, because I know there is a lot of hysteria over this. And you know what? For the most part, I was very cautious with this as well. I thought, you know what? Let's take all the precautions just to make sure that we don't have an extreme situation on our hands. But I mean, I saw very early on that, I think the overall reaction was hysterical, I guess, to say the least. But this is interesting. Let's take a look at this. So this is all of the United States. Death by age. So there are 327 million, let's say 330 million people in the US. Of those, 3.8 million are under 1 year. And 3,000 have died, a little over 3,000 in the last year. How many from COVID? Ivan?
From COVID?
How many do you think? Guess.
Not a lot. Not a whole lot.
No, you're right. 0 is the answer. 0 is the answer. From 1 to 4 years old, 2 people in America have died. From 5 to 14, 1. And from 15 to 24, 14. So And I mean, with all of these here, we don't know what other conditions they had. I would suspect that there were some conditions. Okay. So under the age of 25 in the United States, that comprises 83, 97, about 100 million people. So there's about 100 million people in the United States under the age of 25. And 17 have died from COVID-19. 17. 17 out of 100 million. Okay. Is this starting to sink in? And yet schools right across the country have been closed. Okay. None of these guys are working. Probably these people are going to be disproportionately affected because how many people 25 and under work at restaurants and work in retail? And those are the two sectors of the economy that have been BTFO'd, right? So I hope you guys that are hysterical and like to throw around terms like COVIDiots and hey, flatten the curve, all this shit, you think about that, okay? 17 people out of millions, tens of millions, 17 have died, okay? That's not a lot, especially when you compare it to other things, right? How many in that age group have died from drugs? I bet it's more than 17. I bet it's way more than 17, okay? So think about how you are crippling the economy, hamstringing their careers, and killing their sports, their scholastic ambitions, all of this stuff. You know, I hope this puts it in perspective a little bit for people. And you know what? If you have issue with me, good. I'm happy to have it out with you. Let's have it out. Let's have it out. Because one of the things I've noticed is people like to get very nasty. They like to say, oh, the idiots still don't get it. No, we get it very clearly, okay? We get it very, very clearly. And they like to say, oh, it's all about the GDP or your pension plans or you want Walmart to be open so you can buy shit. No, man. We don't want a bunch of bureaucrats running our lives. That's what it comes down to, okay? So anyways, those are just some numbers. Let's move up, actually, this chart. Let's take a look at a few more before we leave the page. Okay, so if you are in my age group, yes, I know despite this handsome face, I am got a few years on me, right? 853 people have died out of 40 million. 853 in the 45 to 54 age group. 853 have died. And I can guarantee you most of them were in bad shape. They had probably high blood pressure or asthma or maybe AIDS or an underlying condition of some sort, or they were obese. The obese really seem to be affected by this. So again, 853 all-cause mortality is 31,000. That's a big difference, right? 31,000. And as we go up, the numbers get higher, of course. And this is data as of April 20th. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So there we go. There we go, right? Those are something to think about. In Canada, what's our situation here? All right. 36,000 people, again, about the same as Massachusetts. 1,600 have now perished. British Columbia, it's 81. Alberta, 55. Saskatchewan, 4. Manitoba, 6. So again, you know, I mean, all of Western Canada, we're looking at 65, 145 people in 3 months. Here we have the epicenter in Ontario and Quebec. Quebec has been extremely hard hit. Okay, you know what? That would make sense there if you want to take much harder precautions. This should be a provincial decision, not a federal decision. But it definitely seems like Montreal is probably the epicenter, right? And new deaths by day. So here we can see spiking. From this kind of data, it's not really clear what stage we are at in the curve. And like I say, I mean, Canada's a big country. It differs from place to place, right? But one thing there definitely is no dispute about, and that is the actions that have been taken. The actions that have been taken that affect all of us, affect 100% of us. Maybe 100% of us might be, no, I guess it would be 100%. I mean, even politicians are affected to some degree. I mean, their paychecks won't be affected. They never are. But their travel schedules, some of their operational procedures have been affected. They've been debating right now whether or not to sit in the House. And of course, the Liberals don't want it because they want you to be safe. You got to be safe. Let's keep the debates to a minimum so everyone is safe. Man, I swear, if one more person tells me to stay safe, don't worry. I don't want to be safe. Okay, I'd rather achieve things and do things than be safe. Oh, sorry, man. I'm not gonna. That's it for the ranting. Okay, that is it for the ranting. Let's stick to other stuff that's going on. All right. So many of you will have heard by now that there was a nasty situation in Nova Scotia. Gabriel Wortman went on a shooting spree, and the death toll for this is now actually 19. This has been updated now, but he was a denture maker, which is odd. I thought dentists did that. I didn't know if anybody specifically had a career as a denture maker, but that's what he was. He had two businesses. He's 51 years old, Gabriel Wortman. He owned denture clinics in Dartmouth and Halifax, and he was dressed as a police officer as he went around killing people. And I know that he had a hobby, I guess you would say, of purchasing police vehicles, used police vehicles in auctions. So that would explain why he had police vehicles. And I guess the uniform is not super hard to get. So this was part of his method. And why did this guy suddenly snap? I don't know. The death toll keeps rising, and it's up to 19 now. One of the people he did kill was a police officer by the name of Reed. Believe her name was Reed. She was a police officer for 23 years. Oh, sorry, Heidi Stevenson was her name. She was slain. She was a police veteran of 23 years, a mother of two. So, I mean, that's very sad, right? That's very sad that a mother is out there. It's very sad that a mother of two is the first one to go out and respond to a shooting. Like, I mean, can you not have someone else do this? Does it have to be a mother with two kids going out there to deal with this? I get that it's part of the job, but I find that's just, I don't know, that just kind of adds to the tragedy, right? So, I mean, this guy, Wortman, his profile was that he was kind of sad and kind of awkward throughout his life. He made news actually about 5 years ago, making dentures for people that were unable to afford them. So he got his piece of virtue signaling, something you got to watch for whenever people are going out of their way to do these sort of PR stunts, right? They have ulterior motives. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But apparently he's a very different person now. And he was cornered at an Irving gas station at a Big Stop restaurant in Enfield. And a truck driver there heard a gas station employee shouting. She said, "Oh my God, lock the doors, he's here." Peeked out of the window, he saw all the RCMP vehicles. There was 4 or 5 uniforms with guns, and they shot him dead. And what caused this? I mean, we don't know. I mean, anybody that does this is somewhat unbalanced, right? This doesn't just spring out of nowhere. There's obviously a lot of issues. There's obviously some psychological damage. But the thing is, do these situations exasperate that? What pushes people that may be just bitchy and grumpy and complaining a lot? What pushes them to a situation where they're violently enacting murder, right? Where they're going off the end, off the edge. Is this something that can be attributed to the lockdown? I don't know. Maybe that's a stretch. Maybe it's possible. I don't know. But oddly enough, I mean, people being locked down hasn't kept them really any safer. Like that seems like this is a very rural area, a death count of 19, and presumably that includes him. But that's a very high death count for such a rural area that's presumably under lockdown. But anyways, we'll have more details about that. Here's a bit on some of the victims. This is very sad. One thing I always like to see the victims, because you don't, in a situation like this, you don't want to just see numbers, right? You don't want to just see 18 people. I mean, these are real people that were murdered. Lisa McCulley, Heather O'Brien, Constable Heidi Stevenson, there she is there in her hat. Kristen Beaton, they've all been identified as victims. I guess that's all that they have identified at this point. And there will probably be more details to follow. Lisa McCulley, she was a teacher confirmed to be one of the members, was a victim of the shooting. She was a member of the Nova Scotia Teachers Union, a teacher at Debert Elementary. Heather O'Brien and Kristen Beaton. VON Canada, I'm not sure what that stands for, confirmed 2 of its employees. Heather O'Brien and Kristen Beaton died during Sunday's shooting. All of our frontline care providers are heroes, VON Canada said yesterday. 2 of those heroes, Heather O'Brien and Kristen Beaton, were taken from their families and from VON. Yeah. So, okay. So, I mean, we're still going to see how this all unfolded. And Justin Trudeau came out this morning and he said to the newspapers, please don't print any pictures or information on this man, and because we don't want to give him any infamy. Well, I don't know. That's kind of stupid, I think. You know, I mean, this is a crime. You know, I don't think infamy, like, I mean, maybe he would have gotten satisfaction from having his name tied to the greatest mass murder in Canadian history. Maybe. I don't know. Probably not, though. Maybe not. But it's part of what happened. So, I mean, don't start asking newspapers to suppress information. Like, Jesus, man, his dictatorial side always creeps out. Control, right? Don't control the press, Trudeau, okay? Let people decide whether they want to make him famous or not, you know? Sean McLeod Left and Alana Jenkins Wright have been identified as victims of the Nova Scotia shooter. They were both correctional officers. So, yeah, I mean, this is interesting. I really want to see how this all came together, because we have a lot of people that were sort of Greg Blair and Jamie Blair, another couple. They were gunned down in their home. So it almost sounds like he was going around from house to house and, you know, inquiring or pretending to inquire or interrogate people and then shooting them, right? Greg Blair was 45, Jamie Blair was 40. Jolene Oliver, Aaron Tuck, and Emily Tuck, another family. So yeah, this bastard, he was really just going after families, right? He's a sick guy, right? And he'll be remembered as a sick guy. I don't think that's the kind of infamy anybody really wants. He's going to be remembered as a twisted, deluded, venomous individual, right? That's how he'll be remembered, you know. Frank Madsen and Don Madsen, right? Other victims. So yeah, he's killed a lot of couples. So this strikes me as something that's very deliberate. Very deliberate. And of course, every shooting is deliberate, but I mean, like, deliberately seeking out people to go kill, right? Gina Goulet is another victim. She was a resident of, Christ, I'm not even going to try to say this, Shubenacadie, Nova Scotia. She was a 2-time cancer survivor, 54 years old. So Gina had cancer twice and she beat it. And then this asshole comes and kills her, right? Anyways, those are the people that have been identified for now. And did the COVID lockdown play any part in this? Maybe. I mean, maybe we'll never know, right? Maybe nothing at all, right? Maybe this was bound to happen. But it's something that we should be vigilant on, right? So here's another article. The default cycle has officially started. This is from Zero Hedge. We didn't really need any more confirmation in recent weeks as the US economy came to a screeching halt because of the coronavirus pandemic. We have seen banks take over $20 billion in reserves in anticipation of looming default wave. So what's a default? Default on loans are when, homeowners, business owners, or whoever can simply not pay their bills and they just default and not pay their loans, right? I mean, there's deferment and then there's default. Deferring means that you can't pay it right now, you'll pay it later. Default means I can't pay it. Sorry, man. And typically that happens when a business or homeowner is impacted to such a degree that that they were probably just getting by as it is, and any situation which reduces their income, it just puts them in an impossible situation. And in the U.S., you see home loans default more quickly because people can default from a home and they don't have to declare bankruptcy like they do in Canada. I believe that's the case. Canada, you can only avoid a home loan if you've declared bankruptcy. The U.S., I think you can just simply walk away from the house. I'm not 100% sure on that. I believe that's the case, though. Moody's predicting, predicting as many as 30% of Americans with home loans, about 15 million households, could stop paying their mortgages if the U.S. economy remains closed through the summer or beyond. 30% of Americans, 15 million households. Like, there's no bailout that's going to stop that. I hope they realize that. There's no bailout that is going to slow that tidal wave if that happens. And if that happens, then there's no saving the economy. The economy is plunging into an abyss, okay? That's exactly what will happen. So you know what? You guys that are the paranoid ones out there, I won't even call you paranoid. I'll just say you've erred on the side of caution. You want to be safe, right? And you want to be cautious. If you're one of those people, look, man, the wave that's coming is way worse than the flood that's here, okay? There is a tidal wave of destruction that is coming, okay? And it's all tied to the shutdown more so than the virus. Just know that, okay? At some point, man, you're going to have to say, look, let's rev things back up, because each day that we're in this state, it becomes harder and harder to start things, right? It's like anything. It's like an athlete. You can miss a game and no problem. You can miss a couple weeks and a couple practices and a couple games, okay, and then you can get back into it. You can miss an entire season and then kind of jump back into it. But if you miss too much, that's it, you're done, right? And it's the same with a lot of things. These are all clear signs that a wave of mass defaults has started and is about to break all across America as tens of millions of households suddenly lose their jobs. And yet, with the Fed now openly buying investment grade and junk bonds, there is a terminal disconnect between bond pricing as a result of the Fed's interventions and underlying cash flow dynamics. This is another thing to keep in mind. Many of you that were around, 12 years ago in the last big, bank default situation that we were faced with in the recession of 2008, 2009, this was mostly down in the financial sector. The rest of the sectors of the economy were going pretty much as before. But the financial sector and the home loan situation, the inflated real estate prices are really what kind of kicked it off. And even that, I mean, that was a struggle that you can argue that it never even really came back. But that was a struggle just to deal with the fallout from that. And this is about 10 times bigger. So we can expect defaults, right? What else do we have here? When bubbles pop, only the first sellers avoid destruction. Jobless claims, as you can see, this sort of thing is creeping up. And there's an illusion of stability, right? There's an illusion of stability that comes with disruptors. And what we are seeing also in the US now, and I'm surprised and disappointed that we haven't seen this in Canada. So protests erupt again over coronavirus shelter-in-place orders. Here's why governors aren't budging. So the governors are not budging at all for the time being, but people are starting to protest the shutdown. And it's not because they're greedy and they want to go to restaurants, or it's not because they want to buy stuff again. It's because they're concerned about going bankrupt. They're concerned about losing their house and everything they've worked for how many years. And it really irritates me when people try to twist that argument into, oh, they're greedy or they're worried about the GDP or their pension. No, they're worried about their lives being financially ruined, okay? Car horns blared in the streets of Annapolis, where members of the group Reopen Maryland said the closure of businesses have been financially devastating. Yeah, and we're 6 weeks in and we've got another month. So you tell me where we're going to be in a month. We don't think that there's any reason we can't protect the elderly and the vulnerable from this virus and still get our small businesses back up to work, Paul Brockman told a CNN affiliate. Here you can see a protester says, I want to save my business. I need to work to live. Otherwise, I will die. Okay, it doesn't get any clearer than that, does it? And again, Indianapolis protester Andy Lyons says, I understand the health risks, but he wants the government to back off. If I get sick, then I'm going to bear the consequences of my getting sick. And let's remember that it was the government that got us into this situation in the first place. They knew about this virus months and months and months ago, and they didn't take any measures then when they very easily could have stopped them from flowing into the country. They didn't do it then, but they're doing it now. Like it's, blame the government, not people that want to work, okay? Across the country, more protests are popping up in both red and blue states. So, and we're seeing kind of a realignment of the political divide with people. We're seeing people, you know, before it was kind of blue versus red, and now we're seeing kind of a realignment of back to work versus shutdown, right? What else do we got here? Okay, so let's finish it off with one more article here. One more article from Al Jazeera. You see, I will go to any source and see what they have, because a lot of times these other sources have information that is not, it's not filtered through the lens that we're used to seeing it filtered through. So Italy's Civil Protection Service says 108,000 people are either being treated in hospital or recovering at home. Italy reports the lowest number of deaths in a week. New Zealand will relax some of its restrictions, which have been among the most stringent in the world. Okay, so they've been the most stringent, which I would say would be the best policy. I mean, if you're going to do this, be the absolute most strict and then come out of it quicker, okay? China has said Australia's calls for an investigation into the origins and the spread of the virus are baseless. Baseless? Baseless? Holy shit, China. So you're saying that they have no reason to look for an investigation? I think maybe China might be a little biased. What do you think? So Italy is better. Slovakia to reopen small shops and outdoor sports grounds. Nice move, Slovakia. The UK, over 1 million UK workers are furloughed. Yikes. 140,000 companies have applied to use the government scheme, which will pay 80% of the wages of staff furloughed due to the coronavirus outbreak. Well, that's more than they're paying in Canada, right? Canada, we're looking at 75%. The US medical workers stand up to anti-lockdown protesters. Canadian coronavirus deaths rise by almost 7%. Again, that's pretty much in just Quebec and parts of Ontario. North America extends travel restrictions. This is official now. They're going to extend the travel restrictions between Canada and the US for another 30 days. And I hope for China and other places, it's much longer. And crude oil is, I believe it's trading at negative prices. Coronavirus hits Rome's squat of African refugees. See, this is another thing, man. You got a big problem with homeless people and refugees. You know, if first of all, see, this is a problem when we get mixed messages, right? We have governments saying, no, don't leave your house. Don't walk through a damn park. That's not essential. Don't walk up a mountain, okay? And yet you can have reams and reams of homeless people just milling about as always, right? Like there's no restriction there at all. And they're taking in refugees and asylum seekers. Like you can't properly care for that situation, so don't make it worse. And all of those people, that it's going to go through them, and then they're going to be spreading out into the general public, right? Volunteers unload stuffed full plastic bags from the back of a car while two women from the Horn of Africa wait for their groceries behind the fence of Salam Palace, home to as many as 500 asylum seekers and refugees from Eritrea, Ethiopia, Somalia, and Sudan. Hey, look, people, don't migrate to where there's a goddamn epidemic, okay? Like, I don't imagine anybody from the Horn of Africa is watching this, but if you are, or if you communicate with them, tell them, look, man, don't come now, okay? Ramadan. Muslims around the world will observe the holy month of Ramadan under lockdown and tight restrictions due to the coronavirus outbreak that has paralyzed entire countries. And more stuff from around the world. But you know what? Let's draw a line under it. Let's call it quits for now. That is the COVID Cast 43 for April 20th, 2020. For Ivan, I'm Rick Richards. Let's stand together and can't nobody stand against us. See you next time. Bang, high five.